and grateful that you're here. And the goal here is to make this the most amazing hour you've ever spent in your life. That includes marriage, having children, if you've had children, anything that's been a big deal in your life. The goal here is to compete with that and potentially surpass that in profound meaning. Though I think that's probably a stretch target. I'm not sure we'll achieve that goal, but let's try. There are some new people on our call in the class today. So let me briefly introduce myself, and I apologize to all of you who have been here before, who have to hear this again. In fact, you may just want to go get a cup of coffee or something. But anyway, I'm Stephen Klein, and I teach at the University of California, Berkeley. And I teach artificial intelligence. I teach AI ethics, of which I'm supposed to be an expert, but I'm not. That's a secret. There is no such thing. I teach entrepreneurship, and I teach marketing to undergrad and graduate students, mostly engineers. Very, very smart, wonderful people. And I love my students and I love teaching. I am also the founder and CEO of a generative AI company called Curiouser AI. And we are on a mission to change the world and to revolutionize AI. And the way we want to do that is quite simple, which is to create an AI from the ground up that is designed to make all of us smarter. It's designed to challenge us. It's designed to augment our thinking. And it's designed to create jobs, not eliminate them. And the way we do that is that our AI, we call her Alice, she's curious. That's the secret. It's that simple. She's curious. So when she meets you, she wants to learn about you. She asks questions. She really tries to get to know you. She tries to understand you, tries to figure out what matters to you, what matters to your business. And if you're saying you're trying to solve a certain problem, is that really the problem you're trying to solve, or is there something else that you may not be aware of? And through that process, which is quite magical, it's kind of the Socratic methodology. Through that process, two things happen. The first thing that happens is that she gets to know you, which means that you've immediately kind of broken out of that trap in terms of regressing to the mean. So all of a sudden, it's the results you're going to get in your relationship with this AI are not average and are not like everyone else's results. So she gets to know you, and you're unique. And the second thing that happens is that she helps you get to know yourself. Because if you've ever met a really smart person, a friend, a colleague, a coach, and they ask you questions, you realize that what you're doing is you're learning about yourself and coming up with new sorts of insights and discoveries. So she's quite unique, and we love her. I'm also in the process of writing 2 books, working with the publishing group at Georgetown University. One of those books is called The Age of Meaning, and it's what the world is going to look like in a post-automation world. So when everything that can be measured is automated, when generative AI has pretty much seeped into just about every aspect of our work and our life, what does the world look like, and how do businesses compete within that inevitability? And the argument that I am building and the belief that I have is that what will emerge is meaning. What will become prominent, what will become the competitive advantage, are all those things in the world that we cannot measure, because if you can't measure it, you can't automate it. And what are the things that can't be measured? What are the things that can't be automated? Well, imagination, heart, our dreams can't be measured, passion, trust. And so the argument in this particular book is that that is the optimistic view of where this all goes, that the fundamentals and the basics that make humanity distinct from machine are going to emerge and become more prominent. And that's the thesis of that particular book. The second book is based on a lot of what we're talking about in this series. It's called The Rogue Entrepreneur. It's a spiritual guide for builders, misfits, and dreamers. And it's sort of art of war meets Zen in the art of motorcycle maintenance meets Clayton Christensen and the innovator's dilemma. So anyway, so I'm doing that. One more, just from 2015 to 2021, I ran innovation and marketing for the largest law firm in the world, almost 7 years. And among the many things that I was responsible for back in 2015, I got really into AI ethics. And I was able to travel all over the world and give seminars and workshops, keynotes, roundtables, mostly to lawyers, both on the law firm side as well as on the Fortune 500 corporate side, general counsel, chief legal officer, and talk about AI ethics, which was when I really got, when I fell in love with it 10 years ago. So that's a little bit about me. Some background on the Harvard Business School. This is a course where I wanted to try and share some thinking around the whole MBA world and how MBAs think. And I'm trying to do that in a way that isn't anything you can find on YouTube, or it's just not stuff that's out there. So it's stuff that maybe you can only find here. And it's insights. And so I wanted to share some thoughts with you about the Harvard Business School experience. I studied there for 2 years. I taught there. I taught marketing there as well. And there's a lot of stuff that doesn't get talked about. So there's sort of two things going on. And I can't speak for the other MBA grad schools. Okay, I can't talk about, this is the only world I know is Harvard. Okay, so I'm just going to speak to that. I have a feeling there's similarities and there's also things that are quite unique about it versus the other Ivies or Stanford or whatever. There's a very, very, very profound and deep psychological component to it that is almost beyond frightening. And I mean that. In my class, there were 2 suicides. That stuff doesn't get talked about. The pressure is unbelievable. My best friend, and in fact, he's an investor in our company now, all these years later, and he's on our board of Curiouser, but I met him at Harvard. He was a captain in the Marine Corps. Okay, captain in the Marine Corps. And he fought in Iraq. He saw combat, 2 tours of duty. He saw combat. That's some pretty serious shit. And he felt that the psychological compression that we were under that first year at Harvard was worse than anything he had gone through, specifically even Parris Island, which is where the Marines have their boot camp, the United States Marine Corps. And I think that that's an important, if you really want to understand what makes an MBA tick, I think this is the stuff that doesn't get talked about. So you show up in a classroom that looks something like this. There's no windows. And you're given a seat, and you have to sit in that same seat for a year. You don't know anybody. And you don't change that seat and you don't change that room for a year. The teachers move in and out. You don't get up and go to another class. It all comes to you. It all hits you in waves. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. And the lowest row is called the worm deck. Worm deck. Because it's below ground. It's below the teacher. So you're a worm. And then there's the garden deck. This is all really profound psychologically. And then there's the power deck. I actually forget what the next one's called. Then the top one's the sky deck. And the people assume the personalities of the deck that they're on in terms of levels of paying attention. And there's a psychology to it in that half your grade is class participation. 50% of your grade is class participation. So the goal is, how do you get, when you have something to say, how do you get the attention? And you don't want to waste saying something, because if they call on you when you don't say something good, you may not get called on again for 2 months. So there's this game of like, when do you talk? When is your moment? And so forth. But it's fascinating. There's a bell curve. The saying is that I don't have to outrun the beer. I have to outrun you, so the beer eats you. There's no getting around the curve. There's no cheating. So, if there's 50 people in the section, there's a number 1 person, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom, 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 a number 50th person. Everybody is graded specifically on a forced rank hierarchy. There's no fucking hiding. At the beginning of the curve, 10% of the people get a 1. At the back of the curve, 10% of the people get a 3. And everyone in the middle of the normal curve gets a 2. So 80% of the people in the class get a 2. 10% get a 1, 10% get a 3. If you get too many 3s at the end of the first year, they throw you out. Hence the self-harm. They throw you out. After what is arguably the worst, hardest year of your life, you are humiliated and thrown out. Nobody wants that to happen to them. I don't know if there's any other schools that's still great on this. People have tried to ban them from doing it, but they don't talk about it, but it's still the Middle Ages. So it changes a lot about how you see the world, and not just how you compete, which a lot of Harvard MBAs are pretty competitive. But it also teaches you in a very counterintuitive way kindness. You'd be amazed at how, despite the fact that you're in a pressure cooker and you're competing with everybody on a forced rank bell curve hierarchy, the kindness that is shown people who are struggling. And there are literally like a lot of the ones, really, everyone knows who's what in the class pretty much. You can pretty much know where people are. I mean, this is a group of very smart people. But there is a very generous kindness that also comes out of it. A lot of tutoring that goes on, a lot of amazing coaching. You have a study group. You get together with 3 or 4 or 5 people. I got together with the same 3 people every morning at 6 in the morning for 2 years. Every single morning, 7 days a week at 6 in the morning for 2 years. Every morning, 3 of us. And we help each other get through it. Frameworks concepts, ways of seeing the world, patterns. That's really what you learn that sticks with you. Because frameworks are a catalyst to go from where you are to somewhere else quickly. And they can be a crutch, and you can abuse frameworks, or they can be an extraordinary weapon. But since I acquired those frameworks, I don't know how to look at the world without looking through them all. They're all like, it's almost like on my windows, on my my front window, I'm seeing frameworks. I just see it all. It's all in my brain. I wanted to just give you an example of a stress test that's given to people. And some of the investment banks do this. But you're basically interviewing and you're in a room and it's hot. So you're sweating. There's nothing worse than being all sweaty in an interview. It just sucks, right? Is there anything worse than being all sweaty and looking like crap in an interview? So you're in this room and you're sweating. And the person that's interviewing goes, "Can you open the window, man? It's hot in here." And the window's nailed shut. And they just watch to see how you handle it. How does he handle it? How does she handle it? She panic? Is she cool? How do you handle that? You're taught to ask a lot of questions. And that's where I learned that the only thing worse than the wrong answer is the right answer to the wrong question. And that's where I learned that 90% of what most people do with their lives is optimize things that should probably never have existed in the first place, because they didn't start in the right place. They didn't ask the right questions. They didn't get the root cause. They didn't get the first principles. Ethics was something that Harvard laughed at, to be honest with you. It wasn't something that was taken seriously. The only thing really taken seriously was the spreadsheet, at least back when I was there. It was mostly management consultants and investment bankers. 3/4 of the class was investment bankers and management consultants. But there was one class in ethics, and I took it seriously because it's important to me, and it always was. And I was different than everyone else. Not different than everyone else, different than most of the people. There were a few other outliers like me. But the one thing I learned that I'll never forget around ethics, and it's how I kind of evaluate what I do every day on an operating level, is that how do you know when something's ethical and when it's not? The simplest way to, I think, look at that is you just ask yourself if what it was you did or what it was you didn't do appeared on the front page of the New York Times the next day, and everybody in the world read it. How would you feel about that? Would you be proud of it? Or would you be embarrassed, shamed? That's a pretty good litmus test that'll keep you flying straight. And it's related to disclosure and transparency, which are extraordinarily important components, I think, of ethics and values. Disclosure is the key. Just sharing the information as openly and honestly as you can. So frameworks can oversimplify. They can defend bad decisions. Porter's 5 courses is the mother lode of all of them. Have you all heard of Porter's 5 courses, Michael Porter? This is what most every MBA is basically. This is sort of their view of all of the business world. This is the strategic framework they use. This is sort of the key of strategy. So in order to evaluate a business, whether it's your own company, whether it's a company you're trying to start, whether you're thinking about investing in somebody else's company. This is sort of how an MBA will be coming at you, thinking about it. But they're going to want to know, okay, what kinds of supplies do you need? What kind of inputs do you need to make what you're going to make? And who has the power? Are there a lot of them or a few of them? Can they hold you up on pricing? Key. Okay. So if you want to build a new mobile phone company, extreme, and you're going to need chips to do that, you don't make your own chips. You need to actually buy the chips from a supplier to put them in your phone to sell it. And there's only 2 chip companies in the world. One is maybe Taiwan, and maybe one's down the street, Silicon Valley. Although NVIDIA just invested in Intel. Anyways, that's probably a stupid business to go in because you're going to get held up. Can somebody come at you and replace your product with a substitute and just pull the rug out from underneath you? How much power do your buyers have over you? In other words, automobiles are a great example of an industry where the customers have a lot of power. I mean, you go down to those dealerships, those highways in some of those towns where there's 35 different car dealers, one after the other, like Auto Mall or whatever they call it, Auto Row or whatever. You're the customer. You have a lot of power. You can go from one to the one. Like, do I want a Ford? Do I want a Chevrolet, or do I want a Ram pickup truck? And then there's the, excuse me, what? Can somebody come in and attack you? So new entrants, bargaining power of suppliers, threat of new products. That was always really hard for me. So I kind of narrowed it down to a couple of questions, which is one is just how big is your market? Who is your IC? Who's your who's your optimal ideal customer or the persona that you're selling to, and what is your moat? How do you protect yourself? Those are essentially that's what I took out of Porter's 5 forces. How big is your market? Is it growing? Who very specifically are you selling your product to? And I mean really specifically. And I don't mean the demographics. I mean, who are they? Where do they live? What do they think? What do they feel? What are they doing now? And then how do you protect yourself? What is your moat or barrier to entry? And then switching costs, which is a really big deal, which is that if somebody starts using your product, how hard would it be for them to leave you and go to another product? Are there reasons why they would stay with you? Maybe it took them a long time to learn how to use you, in which case they don't want to undo that. Like, oh my God, I don't want to have to go through that all again. I'm just going to stay with this guy. Or maybe there's data that they've given you that improves the customer experience, and you don't want to leave, and then maybe they hold on to that data, and if you leave, you got to start over again. Or maybe you're just loyal. Maybe they just treated you well. Maybe they treated you respectfully, and you trust them. That's a switching cost. Maybe you'll just stay with them for that. How crowded is the market? Who has the strategic power? What's pricing look like? Can you charge more than your costs? You can laugh about, can you charge more than the cost? Because that sounds like such a stupid question, but none of the generative AI companies right now can. Honestly, none of them can. Every single generative AI company out there right now charges less than the product costs them. Somebody didn't ask that question because they all got so caught up in the feverish, whatever it is. This is the simplest framework of all. And I'm sure some of you have heard of it. Maybe all of you have heard of it, but it's fundamental, but it's still really great, which is the SWOT, which is you just basically write out a list of what are all of your strengths, what are all of your weaknesses, what are all of your opportunities, and what are all of your threats. One of my favorite things to do when I go into a new company or a startup or I'm advising them is I just love to have everybody in the company anonymously do a SWOT analysis and then submit it to me so I can see what everyone is really thinking about what the strength, the weakness, the opportunities, the threats are. But it's a pretty reasonable framework to think through. Decision trees are an amazing, powerful tool that you learn at an MBA. It's not as complicated as it seems. But basically, what you learn when you're studying for your MBA is that as you're moving forward into time, the whole world is broken out into scenarios, and you have optional paths you can take, decision nodes. And when you're looking at monetary value, which is usually how it's applied, EMV, expected monetary value, EMV, the way you start analyzing, you say, I've got 2 or 3 choices. I can go this way, door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3. And you can almost break every decision down into this sort of structure. And so essentially, like, people don't often do this, but let's say you could go to work for a startup and there's a reasonable, you think that you could make $1 million in 2 years. But the way the decision tree works is now you have to come up with a probability of confidence that choice. So if I go door number 1, I believe I can make $2 million, but if somebody really forces me to think about it, I only think there's a 5 or 10% probability that will happen. So then you just multiply the number by the probability. So if it's 10% probability you'll make $1 million, what's that, $100,000? So door number 1 is worth $100,000. This is how that framework would work. Or you can work for a larger company and make $100,000 a year for 2 years, which is $200,000. And you feel like it's probably 90% probability that will happen. So this would be worth 90% times 200,000. And this would be 5 or 10% of 1 million. And that, if you're looking at classic decision tree scenario analysis, it's a probability times an expected monetary value or outcome. It's a framework. You can play with it. It's kind of cool. But then there's a thing called a sensitivity analysis that you learn that I always thought was really important, which is, okay, so the startup is worth $100,000 and the large company is worth $180,000. So clearly, from a rational perspective, going to work for the larger company is the shrewder move in terms of expected monetary value. But then you can run sensitivity, which is like, it's a qualitative application, which is sort of, where would I have more fun? Where would I learn more? Where might I meet cooler people? And you can start thinking around those things and see if there's enough of that it moves the decision. So you may realize that, well, you know, the startup is worth, you know, half or 20% or 25% of the EMV in 2 years. But I'm going to learn so much about AI. I'm going to learn so much about what it's like to run a little company. I'm going to learn so much about all the functions across the board. Whereas if I'm in a larger company, I'm going to get put in my little box. You just write copy for the page 3 of the brochure. Shut up, write copy for page 3 of the brochure. Sit down, shut up, write your paragraph and do that every day. Whereas in a startup, you just get involved in everything. And so when you run the sensitivity, you may find that it's not as easy a decision as you think. The BCG, Boston Consulting Group, created a matrix, which was a big deal for us back. And I still think a lot about it, which is another framework, which is that every business, essentially, at least an established business, has product categories. They've got cash cows, which are where a lot of the money comes from. They have rising star products. They have dogs, just crap products. And then there's like, the jury's out. So when I was a CMO at Dun & Bradstreet, I was using this framework a lot. And we carved the world out into 3 sales territories: the Americas, Europe, Asia, Pacific. That was it. The Americas, Europe, Asia, Pacific. And each region of the world had one person in charge. And I worked with all 3 of them. They were the revenue producers. They were the sales guys. They were important. The guy that ran Asia Pacific, he was not a cash cow. He represented maybe 10% of all the revenue in the company. The Americas were the cash cow. Tom McKnight. He was the man. He delivered 80% of that company's revenue. Nobody messed with him, not even the CEO. No one. But Roger Evans, who ran Asia Pacific, only represented maybe 5 or 10%, but he was growing 300% year over year. The North America guy wasn't really growing much at all. He was mostly doing maintenance deals. He wasn't selling much software at all. He mostly just had a large base. He was just basically cashing in on the warranties. So when you start seeing the world like that, what you want to do is you want to take money out of the cash cow and invest it in your stars. You want to get rid of these guys. You want to watch this. You want to use this as the bank account to fund future growth. But these guys don't want to fund that. They never do. If you want to know why companies go out of business, even companies as gigantic as Google, this may be the way that one of the reasons that happens is because, I don't know, what does Google search deliver? 90+% of the revenue of Google? It's mostly advertising. Everything else is just a teeny weeny bit. And the search funds everything. It's the bank account. So there's a lot of what would be called cannibalization that goes on and so forth. Opportunity cost. This is one of the most significant concepts in the world in terms of life and business that I am just amazed at how few people get it. How many people go through their lives without actually understanding the implications of the decisions that they make? It stuns me. So I love this example, but I was mentoring a woman. She just graduated from Stanford. Smart. And she wanted my advice on whether she should go straight into management consulting. My advice would have been no, but she wanted to go into management consulting or go straight into business school. That was the question. And so I asked her questions, right? I said, so what would McKinsey pay you? And she said, I'm making these numbers up. I don't know if they're, but she said, McKinsey will pay me $100,000 a year out of school, or 125 or 200, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Let's say $100,000. So I'll make $100,000 a year if I go to McKinsey, in 3 months. But if I have an MBA, they'll pay me $200,000. So I think I should go get my MBA because I'll make more money. And I'll say, so what's the graduate, what's the school cost? What will your MBA cost you? She said, probably about $200,000. And I said to her, but no, but what will your MBA actually cost you? She said, about 200,000, tuition, living, books, margaritas, the little umbrellas you put in the drinks. And I said, no, but you have that wrong. I said, there's an opportunity cost that you're not factoring in that if you go to McKinsey straight out of school, undergrad, and make $100 a year, you're going to make $200,000. And if grad school is going to cost you $200,000, you're paying $200 and you're losing $200. That's $400,000. It's going to cost you $400,000, not $200,000. People don't get that. And I said, so now let's look at the payback, right? So, depending on the math, not only do you lose those salary and maybe getting to know people, but in 2 years, you delay starting for 2 years and then you start. And then the question becomes, how long does it take you to pay all that back, right? So you've taken out loans. You've lost the salary you would have made, which is the opportunity cost, and so forth. And in this case, I don't remember the actual numbers, but I remember it would have taken her about 5 to 7 years to break even on that decision. And all she thought is it's going to cost me $200,000. And she just graduated from Stanford. So opportunity cost. For every decision you make in life, you are not making an infinite number of other decisions. Literally. For every single decision you make, there are an infinite. And so if you're the CFO of a Fortune 500 company, and you have to figure out how to allocate your money, how to allocate your resources, and you've got $1 to spend. If you're at Apple, you've got $1 to invest. What do you do with that dollar? Because whatever you do with that dollar, you're not doing all those other things. Do you put it into a new product development? Do you pay somebody a little extra money? Do you buy your stock back? Do you discount a product? Do you build a new factory? Do you build a new store? It's all opportunity cost, all of it. Causality versus correlation. This is one of my very, very favorites. Most people don't really see the difference between causality and correlation. Most people think everything is there's causality. So if something is a certain pattern, that thing caused that thing. And they make decisions based on that. 90% of the time, there is no causality. And it's very misleading, and decisions get made very badly because of it.
As explained in another video, we calculate the correlation coefficient for two variables to determine not only if the two variables move in the same direction, but also how strong the relationship is. However, as a famous phrase tells us, correlation does not imply causation. In other words, two variables might indeed move in the same direction and the relationship may be quite strong, but this doesn't mean we can draw a, let's say, cause and effect conclusion, with changes with respect to one variable causing changes for the other. In other words, the correlation coefficient can tell us that two variables clearly move in the same direction, but it doesn't tell us why. A pretty popular example is represented by ice cream sales being correlated with homicides in New York. Yes, statisticians may very well have noticed that when ice cream sales go up, homicides do the same, and when ice cream sales go down, homicides go down. But that doesn't mean ice cream makes people kill one another. In quite a few cases, we're simply talking about coincidences, even if the correlation coefficient is robust. Or, of course, there can be hidden factors at play. In our situation, we can take a step back and notice that the weather is the hidden factor which affects both ice cream sales and homicides. Simply put, more people buy ice cream when it's sunny outside on the one hand, and more people go out when it's sunny on the other and end up representing potential homicide victims. To put it differently, ice cream sales and homicides may be correlated, but there is no causal relationship there, whereas there is a causal relationship between the weather and ice cream sales, as well as between the weather and homicides. Pretty logical, right?
So many people. So I started a company in 2008 called Loyal3. This is an excerpt from a Harvard Business School case study that was written about me and the company. I still occasionally teach it. Bain was an investor of ours. But the bottom line is that I had this idea that if I could take a company's customer and make them an owner, a shareholder, that would be the ultimate loyalty currency. So why don't we create a platform and get regulatory approval from the SEC to basically go to Coca-Cola and say, hey, Coke, instead of giving people points or promotion, give them a little stock. They'll never drink Pepsi again. And the saying we had was, in the history of the world, no one ever washed their rented car. Who washes a rental car? And we did a study. And Bain had done a study. And we had done a study, another study with Bain, in which we took companies. We took Amazon, Coca-Cola, back then Yahoo, ATT. I forget the other companies. And we basically measured the differences between customers and shareholder customers. We call them customer owners. And we measured it along frequency of visits. How often do they visit the website or the store? Share of wallet, what percent across the category do they spend? Overall value in terms of the actual revenue and so forth. And it turned out that customer owners were beyond more valuable. It was like they visited 3 times as much. They represented 70, 80% more revenue. Share of wallet improved by, I think it was 33%, all kinds of stuff, right? But what's wrong with this analysis? There's no causality established here. It's correlation, meaning that there's a fatal flaw here. Because the customer owner may not be more valuable because they own the stock. The ownership of the stock may not cause the loyalty or the value. They may have loved the company so much, they already were more valuable, and they bought the stock. You cannot establish causality. Now, there's very strong correlation, and that was enough to build this company, and we built it. I took it from with 3 of us to 300 people. We sold it to Goldman Sachs. We did IPOs. It was pretty successful. It was 8.5 years. But there was never any causality established. But most people, including our customers, didn't get that. The 80-20 rule, have you all heard of the 80-20 rule? This is just, I don't know how this works. It's like a universal law or something. But with almost everything, there's an 80-20 rule. So if you take a company's revenue, you'll almost always find that 20% of the customers represent 80% of the revenue. It's almost always, with just about anything, that 20% drive about 80%. So you do get to points of diminishing returns fairly quickly. Confirmation bias, this is one of my favorites. You see this every day, primarily in research, but in everything, which is that you have an opinion, you have a point of view that you're either aware of, or you may not even be aware of it. It may be somewhat subconscious, I suppose. And then you set out to theoretically establish an objective analysis to prove whether you're right or you're wrong. And what you almost inevitably do is prove you were right. Almost always. You'd be amazed if you want a homework assignment. Take a look at some of the major pieces of research that have been done, say, in the generative AI business. Anthropic just released research. OpenAI released research. And ask yourself the question, was there confirmation bias? Most people just go, wow, look the research, look what the data proves, boom, and they go off and they just start spreading the news. But you got to ask yourself the question, who paid for the research? Who benefits from the research? And the winning question is, if that company didn't do the research and they were able to just publish the results, would they want those results to be what they published? It's almost always confirmation bias. It doesn't mean it's fraudulent, though it oftentimes is. There's a lot of examples of very, very well-known people getting paid a lot of money to lie and cheat in the Gen AI space. But oftentimes it's innocent. It's just sort of where they end up because it's where they went in. The other thing that I really learned and that you really learn is the whole concept of the power of process. So whenever you're going to do something, set up a company, set up a project, build a product, whatever it is, go through your day more efficiently. Everything's a process. Everything's a process. And every process is stuff that goes in, and every process is stuff that comes out. You have no control over outputs at all. You never will. No one does. You know, when Tesla builds cars and, you know, a Model 3 comes off the end of the line, the only control they have over the quality of that Model 3 at the end of the line are the inputs they put into the process. So the way you can control your life and the way you can control your outputs with everything it is you do is really think long and hard about the inputs. And if all the inputs are optimized, you have the highest probability of a quality output. It's the only way. Herd mentality, we all know that. And this is another way to make decisions, and some of you may have heard this from me before, but that Schopenhauer, the German philosopher, called it the Schopenhauer's telescope. Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, called it the regret minimization framework. But it's basically a time machine. And when we're talking about scenario analysis and decision trees a little while ago, we were talking about I'm here and I'm moving forward into time, and I can go left or I can go right. I can go to McKinsey, I can go back to school. You know, I can invest in the Americas, I can invest in Asia Pacific. Whatever those decisions are. But another way to make those decisions is to time travel into the future. This is an actual time machine. Isn't that cool? I'm not sure it works. I don't think it works, or the guy has his hair is perfect. Wouldn't there be wind? But you go into the future, you look back, and you just ask yourself the simple question, what decision would you regret the least? So when I was thinking about starting Curiouser, I wasn't sure I wanted to destroy my life, which is what entrepreneurship actually is to some extent. And the way I made the decision was I went and visited my deathbed, and I looked back on me now, then, and I said to myself, okay, now you're looking back. Would you regret not doing it? Or would you regret doing it? What would you regret the least? And it was a forcing function that really put the decision into a very pronounced clarity for me, which is I would very, very much regret not doing it. Very, very much regret not doing it. And I will never regret doing it. Well, actually, that's not true. I would regret not doing it more. It's a really good way to make decisions. Storytelling is so powerful and so essential to absolutely everyone's success in everything they do, whether it's a conversation, an interview, a product, a pitch deck, an ad, a post on LinkedIn. Everything's a story.
What do Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo all have in common with the heroes of ancient myths? What if I told you they are all variants of the same hero? Do you believe that? Joseph Campbell did. He studied myths from all over the world and published a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces, retelling dozens of stories and explaining how each represents the monomyth or hero's journey. So, what is the hero's journey? Think of it as a cycle. The journey begins and ends in the hero's ordinary world, but the quest passes through an unfamiliar, special world. Along the way, there are some key events. Think about your favorite book or movie. Does it follow this pattern? Status quo, that's where we start. 1 o'clock, call to adventure. The hero receives a mysterious message, an invitation, a challenge. 2 o'clock, assistance. The hero needs some help, probably from someone older, wiser. 3 o'clock, departure. The hero crosses the threshold from his normal, safe home and enters the special world and adventure. We're not in Kansas anymore. 4 o'clock, trials. Being a hero is hard work. Our hero solves a riddle, slays a monster, escapes from a trap. 5 o'clock. Approach. It's time to face the biggest ordeal, the hero's worst fear. 6 o'clock. Crisis. This is the hero's darkest hour. He faces death and possibly even dies, only to be reborn. 7 o'clock. Treasure. As a result, the hero claims some treasure, special recognition, or power. 8 o'clock. Result. This can vary between stories. Do the monsters bow down before the hero, or do they chase him as he flees from a special world? 9 o'clock. Return. After all that adventure, the hero returns to his ordinary world. 10 o'clock. New life. This quest has changed the hero. He has outgrown his old life. 11 o'clock. Resolution. All the tangled plot lines get straightened out. 12 o'clock. Status quo, but upgraded to a new level. Nothing is quite the same once you're a hero. Many popular books and movies follow this ancient formula pretty closely, but let's see how well The Hunger Games fits the hero's journey template. When does Katniss Everdeen hear a call to adventure that gets the story moving? When her sister's name is called from the lottery. How about assistance? Is anyone going to help her on her adventure? Hey, Mitch. What about departure? Does she leave her ordinary world? She gets on a train to the capital. Okay, so you get the idea. What do you have in common with Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo? Well, you're human, just like them.
Sorry, we're running out of time. But I don't know if there are exceptions to that model, but that is the model that works when you're telling a story. So if you're an entrepreneur, you're living your normal life, you've got your normal job, whatever you're doing, maybe you're unemployed, that's your status quo, and then you decide, oh my God, I've got this amazing idea. That's crazy. Can I really build that? Can I really take something that doesn't exist and create this whole new world? And then you go off and then you find help. You find brilliant, wonderful colleagues, or you find investors, or you find customers. And then, you go through the battle of your life. You face doom, you face ridicule, you often face mockery, or indifference, or irrelevance. And then if you're successful, you win, and your life's never the same. You don't go back. Whether it's James Bond, Alice in Wonderland, The Wizard of Oz, Harry Potter, Steve Jobs, all of you. That's the deal. That's the way the story and the hero work. That's pretty much it, people. We're running 2 minutes late. I don't really have. Let me just show you one more. This is fun. This is what they don't teach you in business school. Sarah Cooper. I love this woman. She's hilarious.
Sarah Cooper in the house.
That's right.
Hello,
brilliant.
Hello.
Vice columnist?
Yes.
Let's talk about this, because I read this list, and it just cracked me up. Oh, let's back up a minute. When you walked in, I said, "Are you a Jamaican girl?"
And I said, Wagwan.
You are.
I am Jamaican, yes.
Give us some Jamaican speak. Say hello to everybody as if you were down on the island.
I do a terrible Jamaican accent, so I don't want to embarrass my mother, but Wagwan, cool runnings.
You're right, that's terrible.
It's terrible. It's terrible. I appreciate your honesty. Sort of.
So when you go down to the island, you have no...
No, because I moved here when I was 3, and I assimilated very quickly.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Well, good. I love Jamaica, by the way.
Yeah, and the food is great too.
Oh yeah, the people.
Yes.
It's all good. Let's talk about this advice. When anyone walks into a meeting, you give some advice. 10 tricks to appear smart during any meeting.
Yes.
Would you like to give us some examples?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Let's go with number 2. Translate.
This stuff, believe it or not, actually works.
Percentage matrix into fractions.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, that's a great one. I mean, if someone says about 25% of people click on this button, all you have to do is go, oh, so about 1 in 4, and then make a note of it.
Oh, make sure you do it. No. That does make you sound smart.
Doesn't it make you sound
People
smart?
will think
All
you're
you did
smart
was
in a
take that
meeting if you do that.
25% and turn it into 1 in 4, and all of a sudden people are like, wow, that person knows math.
See, that's a good one.
It's a good one.
Oh, you say encourage everyone to step back. What do you mean by that?
Well,
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of times
yeah.
in a meeting, people are like, oh, what about this idea? What about this idea? You know, and they're talking back and forth really quickly. Stop everyone and say, hey, guys, can we take a step back here? And everybody quiets down. And they think you're the smartest person in the room because you just made everyone take a step back.
I like that.
And then if you don't have anything to follow up with, just go, what problem are we really trying to solve here? And then everyone is just
And
floored.
you don't have to
You're
have
a
any idea
genius.
of what the person was talking about or the PowerPoint or anything.
No, you could
This is
be
how
on
you
your
get
phone playing
promoted
Candy
in a big
Crush
company.
and no one would even be the wiser.
Put the phone down. Let's just take a step back
Can
here.
we take a step back here?
It says nod continuously while pretending to take notes.
Yes, I mean something that I do, well, yeah, very good. But actually write down every other word
Write
that
down.
I'm saying. Every other word,
Every
just
other
write
word,
it down
okay.
and nod and look at me and wow, you seem very engaged. You
Yeah.
seem like you're listening to everything I'm saying.
I am.
You're not.
No, I'm not. I'm not at all.
See, it works.
Where was the other one I loved? Ask the presenter to go back one slide.
Yes, this is a great one. And this is, no presenter wants to hear go back a slide, but as soon as you do that, people think, oh, they must have noticed something that I didn't notice on that slide. And you immediately appear smart. However, don't do it if they're already on the first slide, because that will make you look not smart. So be careful with that one.
Make fun of your.
We ran out of time, but one of the tricks in her book, this is the best one in the world if you're in a tech company, and I mean it, is if there's an engineer or two in the room. So there's like 10 people in a meeting and there's 2 engineers. They're usually very quiet. They're not going to talk a whole lot. You know, people like me, we're going to do all the talking. But they are going to usually say something. When one of the engineers says anything, write it down, hold it, and about 10 minutes later in the meeting, repeat it. Whatever that engineer said, repeat it in your own words, and you will be the smartest person in the room every time. The engineers are almost always the smartest people in the room. So anyway, some tricks that you don't learn in the MBA world. We're out of time. I ran 7 minutes late. I apologize. Two years compressed into 67 minutes. Well, not really, because I took some time on the front end to do an introduction and shared with you some real secrets on how to be successful in a corporate meeting on the back end, but 60 minutes. You could literally go talk about this stuff for 2 years. I don't know if we have time for questions. If anybody wants to hang, ask questions or not. Remember the rule. Easy questions. Always easy questions. Never hard questions. Rule number 1. Rule number 2 is compliments are accepted. Encouragement is appreciated. Criticism is not welcome. Even constructive criticism is not that welcome. Easy questions, compliments. No? What do you think, Mary? What do you think? Naysargi's on the phone. She's our She's kind of, Naysargi, do you have any questions?
I just loved the session today. It was so
You
nice. And
did?
I love the, yes, and I love the
Naysargi
video you
works with me,
showed
so
at
she
the
kind
end.
of has to say that. She has to say that. Actually, she doesn't. She's usually not, she usually doesn't
Speaks her mind.
compliment me. Thank you, Naysargi. Natalia's on vacation.
Amazing session today, Steven, as always.
Oh,
We're lucky to learn a lot from you.
oh my God. All right, now I'm embarrassed.
We have a question from Tim in the chat. He asks, in addition to cash investments, would you consider creating a class of investor, a technical investor that helps on Curious's products in some capacity, gains more insight about the company's internals, earns sweat equity, potentially invest more cash over time?
Okay, forgive me. I'm not sure I understand the
I think
question.
Tim is
Can you help
trying
me out with this?
I
Okay.
think Tim is saying, can the investment be time and experience
Oh, if
in
somebody
return
wants to
for
engage with our company?
in exchange for equity in a technical capacity?
I'm welcome to have any conversation with anybody about that. I'll be honest. It would have to satisfy 3 criteria. Criterion number one, it would have to be a good opportunity for you in terms of you and your opportunity cost and what you'd learn and so forth. 2, it would have to be something that you enjoyed or it wouldn't be worthwhile for sure. And then 3, it would have to be something that we really needed help on, that there would be actual value in trade. Those would be the 3 criteria that we would look at it from a framework perspective. But I'm open to that. We're a small team. We've been together a long time. We are very, very slow to hire. Particular about, who we bring on. Our culture is really all we've got, for better or for worse. Yeah. So yes, ping me, reach out to me, DM me, email me.
Okay, I will.
Hey, Tim, you
Hi.
do it.
Yeah, it was a thought when I saw the what's the name of that crowdsourcing funding?
Oh yeah, 5, 6 days ago, we launched a crowdfunding campaign on WeFunder. Yeah, we're it's a soft launch. We're not actually live. We're not public yet, but we're making people aware of it within our community.
I thought about that, and then I started to wonder about more details about what Curious products are, what they do. I got the sense that some of the AI was built to support the versioning entrepreneur. I don't know if I misunderstood that as one of the goals of the product.
No, you understand it, but I think we may want to. I'm not always sure that we're as clear as we could be. The fact that that's not really glaringly obvious is partly an issue on our part. But yes, that is actually, it is currently a generative AI that is designed to help people who are building something. Could be a product, could be a company, to help them actually think that through from a strategy perspective, from a storytelling perspective, so that they improve the probability of their success. It's sort of a co-founder, if you will.
The literature that's out there for, making entrepreneurs successful, have you gathered that and used that text in any way in the AI system?
Not really, no.
But that is a part of the upgrade. And so we are working on Alice. Interestingly, Stephen and I were talking about a lot of the product design right before this call.
Yeah.
And so Alice 1.0, because right now we're in beta, but that is
She's still a beta. Yeah.
The vision is all of these masterclasses, it's not just the experience out there, though we have all the frameworks that are out there that we discussed in the meetings, but really the value proposition is Stephen's own experience and our own experience. In terms of our advisors. And so we have advisors that have all sorts of startup experience and investment experience across the board. We are in the process of like putting that in vector databases. And the idea is not just using generic outputs, right? Because the LLMs will give you generic outputs, but Alice will, like the outputs when you create a vision statement, a pitch deck, a lot of the things that Stephen has been talking about in these master classes, they will be framed based on that experience. So it's a higher level output, very much customized to your specific needs, because there's an extensive onboarding to understand your needs and understand you, and then the memory and context gets saved. That is the value proposition, because someone would say, hey, you can go and get that material yourself, or you can just ping other LLMs. But it is the whole, hey, those LLMs will regress you to the mean, whereas we are going to pull you above the mean by doing what you just said, by, leveraging our own proprietary data, plus entrepreneurial information that's out there. That also helps with hallucinations. It also helps because we're overriding all of that through our own information and data. And we feel confident that we're sending people down a path of success, as opposed to try your luck out there, use any of these LLMs, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. That's the model.
Mary's got a robotics and engineering background. So if I'm ever in a meeting with her, I write down what she said, like what she just said. And then about 10 minutes later, I'll repeat what she just said. And you will think I am so freaking smart. Right?
But that's a great question, Tim. It sounds like you are thinking about these things, right? Like you have some context and experience.
I don't have a lot of experience with AI. I just started to follow, what's happening in the industry on LinkedIn in the last 4 months. My experience has been 30 years of software development and traditional software development.
The process is the same.
I've got an MBA from Wayne State University.
The process is the same.
Yeah, I mean, algorithms are algorithms, and coding in various languages and cleaning data, that part is the same. And but the statistical models and the inference engines and so that stuff is unique.
Would love to talk with you.
I sent you our email addresses as well in the chat. So.
All right. Well, it was an idea, and I'd like to learn more about.
Great honor. Thank you for that.
The product. So. Thanks for taking the time, and I appreciate today's talk.
Oh, love it. Love doing this. We good?
Good.
Thanks, Tim. Andrew, anything you want to add to, or should we call this a successful week 9?
Anyone who is a former physicist, it's just like, you got to be concerned.
Hi, this is Neville. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yeah.
Hi. Yeah.
Hey.
I missed most of it. I'm sorry. I got kicked out and then had to wait to get back in. Will there be a recording?
Yes.
Yeah. You got kicked out?
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually at an event at the moment. I don't know if you can hear the noise in the background. And I found the beginning very interesting. And I'd like to sort of listen to the rest. Will there be a
Absolutely.
Yeah,
okay,
we send out recordings. We send out recordings within the day, so you'll definitely
Thank you.
receive
Thank
one.
you for that. Thanks.
And if you don't, just reach out to us.
I'll show you where I am. I'm at the sort of, you can't see, it's a blurry event, but it's in London.
It's awesome.
Love London.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Hey, thank you. It's late there.
It's about 6:20.
Okay.
It's 6:29.
Thanks for checking in.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Keep up the good work. Like the previous speaker, I'm sort of getting into AI, following a few people, trying to understand the technology behind everything. So thanks for your help.
You're welcome. Okay. All
I
right.
guess that is it. We
Thank
see
you,
Andrew.
people.
Andrew is walking around at an event too. What did he say? I think he said it in the chat. He is at the Red Hat Summit.
Open source Red Hat. God.
Hey,
Was that Unix? No. What did they? Not Unix. What?
Linux.
Linux.
My name is Linus Torvalds, and I pronounce Linux as Linux.
Well, I didn't even know Red Hat was still a thing.
Well, they're not. They're owned by IBM,
Okay, so it's an IBM conference?
pretty much. But they keep thinking that they're not owned by IBM, but they're a business unit. They took the red pill, but retroactively they were given.
We're all owned by someone. Come on. We're all owned by someone, and we're all pretending we're not. May as well be IBM.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're better than Oracle, at least in my book.
Yes. Oh, my book too. Yeah, and Salesforce is just Oracle 2.0.
Yeah, true. I mean, it just seems. I think you guys are doing some really cool stuff.
Thank you.
Especially, I think your vision as far as what AI is and what it isn't is really.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it gives a lot of people hope. And this is Mental Health Month, by the way.
I'm not sure I can help on that front.
Well, even the stories about doing the Harvard MBA, the fact that Marines basically thought that Harvard duty was harder than basically Camp Lejeune or Paris Island.
He was the first He was the first person to write a check for Curator.
Yeah,
That's always the hardest one.
Marines are definitely special.
Yeah,
people.
on the birthday of the Marine Corps, he wakes up every morning and has a beer. I guess that's their tradition. So I remember having beer with them in the morning on the birthday of the Marine Corps.
Have you seen any of the work by Chesty Puller? Pain is just leaving the body.
No.
If you want to talk about a warrior monk, Chesty Puller is definitely the dude.
No, the bravery is just unbelievable.
Those people are
unbelievable. Unbelievable. The courage. Yep. Yeah, so he's on our board. He's on our board of directors right now, Josh. He's a pretty cool guy. He's a private equity guy now. He owns a bunch of stuff, including an chain of Italian restaurants, a roofing company, and Curiouser.
Hey, he's trying to basically, he's trying to keep a roof over his head.
Yeah.
No, he's trying to keep a roof over his head.
Yeah.
And feed that roof. It's all about the synergy between the
and save the world.
Sure.
All right. Sure. Well, enjoy, Andrew. Enjoy Red Hat, Linux, IBM. Thank you, everybody. Tim, Neville.
Oh, for
Pascal.
the Neville.
Yeah.
That's in London. If you can find a British Brompton bike, that is the Rolls Royce of folding bikes, and especially on Gumdrop, it's the greatest listing in the UK.
I don't know if he's still on, but it'll be on the recording when he gets it.
Sure.
If he gets this far on the recording, there'll be a little Easter egg for him at the end.
Or
there
anyone
we go.
else.
Or anyone else.
In England, because they subsidize their folding bikes. They are the Rolls Royce of folding bikes.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
People, thank you. Pascal, thank you. Thank you, everybody. And stay in touch. And grateful for you. Thanks for being here. Cheers.